let me wait for the setting it up. Yada, yada, yada.
Trying to put my phone on a little stand.
Yes, if you've got your phones with you, can you please get the sound off? And here we go. And here we go. Well, I think we've done this successfully, but if we haven't, too bad. Hassle, never mind, because it's about healing hearts, not about stress. So I'd like to begin by, first of all, saying hi to Orla, because she's come out to do the tech for us again.
Hello.
Hello.
Which is good. And then we have Pia and Haresh from Bali.
Hello.
Hi, hello.
We have Anita, Juliet, and Sharon. 2 from Sydney and 1 from Melbourne, which has been excommunicated from Australia.
Yeah.
And we have Elaine from Hong Kong. And then me, Helen, from New Zealand. So we're quite a diverse little gathering, aren't we?
Yes.
And tonight we're going to talk about healing our hearts, which I think is a good title in light of everything that's happening in the world at the moment. We're just putting the link onto Facebook for people on Facebook to come and join us. I've got no idea if anybody's out there. If they are, welcome. If they're not, welcome, because you'll be somewhere else having fun.
Yes, we have people. We have people.
Do we?
Tracy and Karen, say hello.
Hi, Tracy. Hi, Karen. Good that you could join us. Glad we've got 2 people who care about healing our hearts.
2 people with hearts.
2 more hearts healed.
So, what does it mean to heal our hearts? What are we talking about when we talk about that? Because John talked about healing our hearts from the perspective of self-acceptance, not from the perspective of going in and finding what's wrong with us and fixing it, but from the perspective of self-acceptance. How do you guys feel about that? Any comment you would like to make?
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Helen, because when I look at healing hearts, I feel it's about love and acceptance, seeing stuff with love and acceptance. And it's all about how you perceive yourself, because if I can love and accept myself, I find it easy to share that with others as well. So that's what I feel about it.
Okay.
And when you have that, it's also easy to be lighthearted. You know, you can share things in a light fashion. Things are not dramatic or heavy. So then it's light from both perspectives. So it's more enlightened, there's more light, and then it's also lighthearted. So the humor and this sort of thing comes into it.
Yeah, because otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah.
At
too
first, I
boring.
think your heart has to be open.
It does have to be open, but how do you open it? If you're not feeling self-acceptance, I think we've got an invader. So this is healing hearts. Are we going to allow an invader in? Yes or no?
Who's the invader?
I'm not going to tell you who it is.
Oh.
It's not going to be
Are they
judged on
open-hearted?
personality. Are we going to allow an invader in?
Definitely.
Only if it's Tony.
No, it's not Tony. And guess what? That person's disappeared.
Oh.
They could have come in, but anyway, not to worry. So, anybody else? Sharon?
I'm thinking
Oh, don't think.
personal perspective. No, I have to think. It's I'm thinking from my heart.
That's cheating.
I think the self-acceptance is important, but there are times when, and I'm going to say this, John can clock me with a velvet whip if he wants, but there are times in life when our acceptance of who we are in certain circumstances gets a little shaky. And so I think that healing the heart is a practice of accepting all that is, as well as accepting yourself. So what happens in life, that's the first step, to accept that that is what is, and then coming to a point of, well, who am I in this situation? And can I hold acceptance for myself in this unexpected, strange circumstance? Does that answer sort of what you asked?
I find it interesting. It's you've put it the opposite way around to me. I think if it doesn't matter how much we tell ourselves we accept all that is, if we're not accepting who we are, there's a piece of us that will not be at peace with what's happening to us. So while from a spiritual perspective, it's about alignment, from an acceptance perspective, we've got to be open to self-acceptance, and self-acceptance says bad things happen to good people. And then from there to say, well, because of that, we're open to accepting everything else, because we've got something, and through that, to me, it's a circle. So we accept ourselves, we accept all that is, it brings us back to a greater acceptance of who we are.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying, but there are times when I do it the other way, when nature or the beauty of the world or something touches me, no matter what the circumstance, and I come back to accepting myself within that situation.
Okay, yeah. What about you, Elaine? What do you find? Because you're in Hong Kong and things are not very easy to be accepting of at the moment, are they?
No, and you're so constricted by the mask wearing, which has been ground zero since the whole thing began, and so now we automatically, I go bubble, then mask. That's before you go out the door. That's the other thing, and but I think people are starting to, we accept that, and while you're accepting this, you're not accepting of anything less. The tolerance has become less, because everyone's looking at what you're doing, what you're not doing, to make sure that you're conforming to what people perceive as keeping me safe, or making you a selfish person if you're not conforming. So I think there is danger here of the opposite of kindness happening, while what we're doing is kind of in the name of kindness. If that sounds logical.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
If anybody's got any comments, please feel free to chip in on the comments of YouTube, because we will ignore them if we're having a good time, and if we've got dead air, we'll pay attention and we'll bring them in. Because if we're going to heal our hearts, it comes back to what Pia was saying as well. It's about lightheartedness. No matter how bad a thing is, if we can find humor in it.
Yeah.
Having said that, the masks are getting very creative.
Yeah.
They are.
Individuality starting to appear, and how people are, does that mask match my outfit?
Right.
Or you could have a mask that says Monday and another one that says Tuesday, Wednesday.
I did a mask challenge. I put on a mask and I invited all my friends to guess what the mask was. And it was actually an upside down sports bra. Nobody guessed it.
Ah.
They all said it looked great.
You put it on
now. So what does this have to do with healing our hearts? Why are we talking like this? I think it's a great conversation, but why are we talking like this?
Well,
Because the lightheartedness is the key.
Anita?
for me, what I'm seeing and experience, there is like a COVID coaster going on, and there's a lot happening that's really hard to accept. But for me, what I do, I've just been saying, well, I don't have to like it, but I do have to accept it because it's happening. So the second I go, the second I let myself say and acknowledge, well, I don't like it, I don't agree with it, but I can accept it. And then at that point I can have a giggle with it all and focus on what I can do within it, which is be kind. And that's how I've been rolling with the COVID coaster.
Because it's not just COVID, is it? I mean, Orla and I are in a sweet spot because we're in New Zealand. Sharon and Anita aren't too bad because they're in Sydney. Pia and Haresh ran away to Bali. So they're living on a desert island. It's very tough.
Very tough.
So really, the only two people that are totally challenged in this group are Juliet, because she's in Victoria and it's total lockdown, and Elaine, because you're in Hong Kong and there's a lockdown of a different kind happening. And we've got people that are in the States who are going through it. Look at what's happening in Beirut. So for a lot of people, they're dealing with more than one challenge. How does that connect to healing our hearts? Have we got any questions?
Yes, we have. Doris has said that about Hong Kong, people become like the police trying to control other people. That's kind of what Elaine was saying there. And then Amanda has said mental health issues with young people are going up in Australia since the start of Corona. And how could we help young people with healing their hearts?
It was interesting because there was a thing on the news here that said that since COVID, for a lot of people in New Zealand, the lockdown helped them to get a handle on their financial position and stop spending. The only group that hasn't benefited are the 18 to 34-year-olds who don't know how.
Wow.
They haven't been able to do that. And I know David Brown in Australia put a post that in the first week of lockdown in Victoria, there were 100 suicides.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
It's tough.
So they're people whose hearts haven't had an opportunity to heal. And yes, we're being lighthearted, and it's important that we are, and it's important that we don't spread doom and gloom. I think for me, what I'm seeing is the older generations didn't grow up with screen time. We didn't grow up with computers as an extension, or phones, mobile phones, as an extension of who we were. So our imagination had an opportunity to develop. We had to find ways to entertain ourselves and to be with ourselves. And a lot of people don't know how to be with themselves. A lot of people are afraid to be with themselves, which means that somewhere within them, they're not at ease or at peace. So what would you say to somebody like that? Elaine, what would you say?
Just to back up what you were saying there, it's the ability to be able to be with yourself and to go within.
Yeah.
And you know, we are all of the generation that had the privilege of that time. And so yes, to your point, how do we and what do we say without sounding superior or chastising, that, you know, just put your phone down, just, you know, do what I do or did.
Yeah, you're right. You can't do that. And they don't want to be lectured either.
No.
It's about inviting them to find ways to be with themselves or to be within a group, even if it's not physical. Because that's the other thing, you know, we used to comment, especially when we went to Hong Kong, we would go out for dinner and you'd see a family sitting at the table and all the kids would be on their phones and their iPads and nobody would be talking. So you would have thought, I would have thought that when lockdown started, they'd be fine because they're not used to socializing anyway.
I think that the big difference, I'm really experiencing it because I'm in Melbourne and I live on my own. And actually what I'm noticing, I thought it would be the physical touch that's the hardest part for me in terms of not being able to hug people. But actually what I'm noticing, I could spend 5 hours on my phone or through technology, computer, having Zoom calls like this, having conversations with people who love and care about me. But it's like John has said, through technology, you don't feel the physical energy that you get with someone sitting in the same room with you. And so the lockdown causing people to not be able to actually see each other and be in the physical proximity of each other, that's actually having a really big effect, because we're not getting that energy exchange. We're getting conversation and we're getting connection in terms of what are you doing, but we're not getting that heart, talking about healing the heart, we're not getting that heart-to-heart energy exchange through technology. It's just not the same.
No, I disagree. And so will John.
In what sense?
What's missing, you're right, what's missing is the physical energy, the feeling of the physical energy at an emotional body level. It's psychic energy.
Oh.
That's what people are missing. You know, when we get together in a group, it's our emotional energy that comes together, isn't it? We get excited with each other, or we get angry with each other. But we had a client in Hong Kong who absolutely refused to do a phone session with John. It had to be face to face, because that was the only way he was going to get the energy. And when I told him I wasn't coming back to Hong Kong anymore, so he couldn't talk to John face to face, he was quite shocked. And I said, you know, try doing it by phone and see what happens. And he actually said to me afterwards, it was easier because he could listen to John without seeing a woman.
Yeah.
So because of that, he could feel the energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the heart to heart is possible. It's the emotional energy that we lose track of.
Yeah.
I think would it also be the habit? Like you said, we're of a generation where we had a mix, and the habit of being used to electronic devices and having that kind of stimulus, that's where, of the younger generation, that's where they're getting the hit from, that it's coming from devices. It's not coming from different habits, such as being present with people or interacting in different ways to have a different experience.
I think it's, if we can help them, I think it's great, because what it's showing them is they need more in their lives.
Yeah.
Than that.
And that they'll be okay. That they'll be okay with,
even though they can't physically connect, that heart-to-heart connection that Juliet speaks of is possible.
And
they have to be willing. Pia, what were you going to say?
So it's really, you know, what I've noticed is that, you know, people want to feel the connection. They just want to feel connected. They don't want to feel isolated. That sense of separation is what's more daunting than anything else. And whether it's through a Zoom call or personal, as long as they feel that they can express and have that sense of, whether it's a community or it's a sense of connection of some kind, that is very sustaining.
There's a difference between being alone and being lonely. What's the difference? That's the difference.
So alone, you are happy to be alone with yourself and with your connection, feeling aligned, and you don't feel lonely. Lonely is more an emotional state of being where you feel isolated and separated, or one separates oneself, this sort of a feeling.
Sharon?
Well, you know, I don't quite agree with that, because it's almost like a blaming statement.
What is?
That, you know, that loneliness is a separation from yourself. And I think that many of the young people that I've heard of that are self-harming, there's a huge wave of self-harming in Melbourne at the moment. A lot of people are contacting Beyond Blue. Young people, if I talk about adolescents, the most important thing for adolescents is to belong. And because they're not going to school, because they're not with their peers, they're not, that sense of belonging is tenuous. And I think that there is a profound loneliness in not being with other people that understand exactly what you're feeling as an adolescent. And so I'm imagining that healing the heart would require a way of feeling that they are not alone in this experience, and this experience is temporary, because young people can't see, even older people can't see an end to this.
No.
But I think that the temporary aspect is something that could be explored with young people.
I think young people have to explore it. Young people need to be encouraged to explore it with each other.
Yes.
I think coming from older people is not the same.
Absolutely.
Totally. Yeah.
It's encouraging them to create their own teams, their own communities,
Yeah.
their own ways of feeling connected. Have we got anything?
Yeah, Amanda was just saying she wondered if social media for young people makes their sense of isolation worse.
I don't know.
I feel like social media, because it's all about feeding the ego, how many followers, and look at my photograph, that the connection they're getting in social media isn't the heart to heart.
No, it's not.
So they possibly don't know what that feels like.
Yeah.
Where do they start?
So they start, you could use social media, but no, I don't think something like Facebook or, I think it needs to be opportunities to learn to share with each other, not just talk to each other.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah, that would be huge.
I was going to say, I recently had an experience which for me was a healing of the heart. And what it really was getting to the heart of the matter of what was going on for me, and connecting with myself first and foremost at a deeper level of what am I really feeling and why am I feeling it, and having that fuller kind of opening of my own heart and my own pain and difficulty. And in that, it healed my heart and enabled me to be more open-hearted and more accepting of myself and other in the process, and for the light to really come in and for me to stand in that light. But it was, like you say, with younger people, needing to have those conversations with each other to explore what am I really experiencing here? What's the pain that I'm feeling? And in the feeling of it, it actually allows it to release and be healed.
I think they have to learn to talk to each other first.
Yeah,
I think the difference for all of us is we have a foundation,
yeah.
whether it's shaky at times or not. And for all of us, there's times when our foundation's shaky. We have a foundation. But for a lot of them, they don't. I can remember Julian saying to me years ago, you never went through a teenage rebellion. You never played up. Why? And he said, you just had a stroke. I didn't know if you were going to live or die. How was I going to play up? Now, I didn't know he was feeling that. His dad didn't know he was feeling that. He had felt that, decided what was and wasn't appropriate, and gone forward without sharing that. We only talked about it later when I made the comment, years later. So I think a lot of teenagers, a lot of the young people are doing that. They're making a decision without sharing what that decision is or what that decision's based on, because they believe that's the only choice they have. And I think that's where we need to encourage them to share their experiences, because in the sharing they may find that somebody else's choice will help them, but it can't come from us. What were you going to say, Elaine?
I was going to ask if just on that, whether they're doing that consciously. It's a situation that's being presented to them, same situation with most of their peer group. And going from my niece and nephew, what I understand from them, I mean, they desperately miss their school. They desperately miss all their friends. The excitement is just off the charts when they're going to see people. And, just the thought occurred to me as to whether or not, as much as this will always be a part of their lives, in not being able to physically see each other, they're recognizing where there's a hole there that they might not have noticed before as being a hole. So when they're together,
So what tools do they have to fill that hole? As a group?
Without this.
Well, even with it, because it's not a bad thing. It's not.
But as to not make that the focus of what they're doing.
Not make it the focus, but make it a tool.
Correct.
What Sarupa said here is that a lot of young people use social media for connection too, especially during lockdown. So many new friendships have been created.
Yes,
so there is that.
There's a positive to it.
Yeah.
because people, when they're making friends, talk to each other.
Mm.
They share. Oh, my favorite color is this, and I like that artist. There's an openness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it really, what you're saying, it also comes down to what we, or whatever generation, what we're actually sharing. Is it that superficial layer of social media where we're sharing a selfie of our puckered lips, or are we sharing something that goes deeper, that's meaningful to us, that we're actually are connecting on a deeper level and feeling that and opening our hearts in the process?
I'm wondering if it's about creating spaces where they can have a space, even through the technology, where they feel safe to share those internal feelings, rather than, I mean, they're very well connected across every platform, but it may be not a space within it that they feel comfortable sharing what it is that they would really like to express or share, because you don't know what sort of comments you're going to get. You don't know.
It can't be public. It's got to be private.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
So if they had some, if it's the space that was there and they were encouraged to, look, you come here, you're safe, nothing's going to go public.
And I think teaching them to spend time with themselves, looking at what's beneficial in their lives. Because when you feel trapped, you can't see the light.
Right.
You can't see the benefits. All you can see is the limitations and the restrictions. And it's not about saying, oh, you should be grateful. I don't believe in gratitude anyway. You should be grateful and you should count your blessings. But taking time each day to think about the things that they are enjoying and that they might want to share with other people. Who knows? And it's not just about the young ones, but the young ones are the ones that seem to be struggling the most.
Yeah.
Have we got
Olive has said, is a part of what the young people are missing, the freedom to be spontaneous and exploring life out and about, and that urge. I remember that freedom and how that felt for me when I was that age. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
In some ways, I think this is good because it is showing them that they need more than they thought they needed.
Right.
And perhaps through that needing more than they thought they needed, they might learn to look at what they want, what they want to explore, what they want to experience. And not just for the young ones, for all of us. I don't know about you. I'm sure everybody I speak to has said that since this started, they've re-evaluated who they are and where they're going and what they want in their lives.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a positive.
Yeah.
There are negatives in it, and it's not about only looking at the positive, because there's downsides, and if you don't look at the downside, you can't find a way to get around it, so it'll catch up on you. But healing our hearts it comes back to that acceptance. We're here. How are we going to handle it? How are we going to take it forward? So we build community. So we support each other instead of judging each other. And I don't think there's an easy answer to that.
No.
Do we have anybody else?
Sonia has said that I notice sometimes when I ask some teenagers how they are and how they're coping, not having any school, some of them are quite surprised that others actually care and want to hear.
Yeah. Okay, so how do we heal our hearts? One step at a time.
With kindness.
There is no cure-all, is there?
No. If there was, we'd all be here enlightened.
Speak for yourself.
Is it not acting on that?
Except for you. We would all also be here enlightened.
One technique I was going to suggest is, and because you can always tell someone if you don't do this because it's not good for you, but they don't want to, like you said earlier, they don't want to listen. But one thing I found easy to heal the heart with, not completely, but in the moment when there's a challenge, is just going for a walk in nature. Because I find nature to be a very beautiful and soothing to the heart. When I'm walking in the midst of green, any greenery, it's just very soothing and healing. It allows reflection, it allows finding answers. So rather than being, of course we have technology plays an important role in our life, there's no question. It's convenient, it provides many ways of being independent. But as an alternative, as another option or choice to explore is walking in nature side by side. So you don't need to withdraw completely from technology, but you can do something else that complements it, that helps you connect. So I find that to be one way of doing it. So people don't feel they are being told, don't do this, but try this as well, do this as well.
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, Haresh, because I agree with you. Going into nature is fantastic. For those of us who can,
yes,
and for a lot of people, it's not possible, either because where they are, they can't go out, or because where they are isn't safe, or because they live somewhere where there is no beauty to their environment. So what would they do then?
The first thing that when you were saying that came to me was grow a potted plant in your house or two, because it's not perhaps a substitute for going for a walk in nature, but if you even grow a plant in your house, that's an indoor plant, that's one opportunity to connect to some green. That's one possibility. It's just a thought.
And if there aren't any plant shops,
close your eyes and imagine walking through the forest or whatever the element is that really relates to you going for a walk on the beach. Imagine smelling it and using all of your senses to have that experience.
And if you've never seen a forest?
Oh.
You see, you're talking from the beauty of your lives, the freedom to have experienced all of that. But there are some people that don't have TV, so they can't see it on TV, don't have it in their environment. And so saying to them, get out in nature, could seem unkind because they don't have any nature to get out in. Do you see what I mean? It's not simple. Sharon?
No, I'm still with the young people. I haven't left there yet.
Oh, we have.
I'm back. I'm coming back. So I want to stay there for a second. And I was wondering whether through schools, I'm sort of action-y person, there could be a way of exploring that question by asking it to children, to high school children, to young children. What does it mean to heal your heart? So that it becomes like, what do you call it? Those banners of exploration that sometimes societies grab onto and explore. And, you have to go to the people themselves, like we're doing here. But I was just thinking of my grandchildren and children that are in their 14, 15, 16. I wonder what that might mean for them, what they would say, how to get to them and explore their answers.
Well, you've put it out there now, so I think that's great. Let's see what happens.
What can we do?
They might go, is it broken? I didn't know it was broken.
We have a comment here from Doris who said, to heal our hearts, we could do something we enjoy doing, whatever that is, and whatever is possible in the situation.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah.
Tony, all of you know Tony. He has always done one thing that's started his day. He starts his day with the intent that if he can make one person laugh, he's had a good day.
Wow.
And he does that every day.
I thought he started today bringing you a cup of tea.
Always there, Helen.
Yeah. Everybody we see, it doesn't matter who he's talking, they all know him. They all recognize his voice. It amazes him that he phones somebody and they say, oh, hi, Tony. And he says, how do you know it's me? Recognize your voice. They recognize his voice because he makes them laugh.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we could all do, because in the joy he gets from seeing somebody laugh heals his heart. And giving them the gift of laughter heals theirs. Yeah. Which comes back to that lightheartedness.
Yes, and you see the circle.
Yeah.
I'm dancing in my local park at the moment like a crazy lady, making everyone have a bit of a laugh, but it's giving me that connection with nature and with music and just with being lighthearted rather than walking around in seriousness with my 59 minutes of exercise a day. I'm actually standing in the middle of the park dancing and just bringing light and fun to the moment. So,
Juliet, are you wearing your upside down sports bra as well?
that kind of jiggles around a bit, and I need it elsewhere. So I actually wear a proper face mask and the sports bra where it should.
Yeah. Well, that'd be good, trying something new and random. Like if you've never cooked any, I mean, I know with me, there was decided to make scones. Am I great at making scones or no? Did I have fun trying to make scones?
Excuse me, what did you call them?
Oh, sorry, scones?
That's right, yes, scones.
Scones.
Depends where in
Yeah,
England
yeah.
you come from as
Yeah.
to whether they're scones or scones.
Okay, well, in Sydney, they're called scones. Or probably sconos. So maybe just trying random stuff that you've never done before. Like if we're, always on our technology or in these habits of what we're used to doing, things have changed. So maybe we could just do random things like that are possible within the space that you're in. So, could try drawing. Doesn't mean it has to be fantastic and be part of some contest in a museum, or paint, or try cooking.
All the things we were going to do when we had time.
All that stuff, yeah. And what the kids may discover, or anyone really, is that they've got abilities or interests that they haven't even got a chance to explore yet, because it's been caught up in what they have been doing. Whereas you can go free range, have a bath in the middle of the day for no reason.
How are your teenagers handling it?
So it's a little bit different for them because they weren't out of school for that long, so they're back in school. But what I've found is that if I'm not having the conversations with them, they're not necessarily going to have the conversations with me. I think that's very teenage. I have to be very aware of asking them, how are you, what are you up to, looking for the signs, and and even asking those questions that maybe they don't want me to ask, but it does help them to,
Like, oh, Mom.
oh yeah, the real one, they're like, and they don't have to answer, but if I know that the questions that need to be asked, so they know that if they need to, they can talk about it.
Yeah.
So I think it's important as well for the adults to be asking, to be having the conversations, and also sharing what we're going through in front of them. A lot of it is just role modeling,
and be willing to say, I'm not having a very good day today, and that's okay. You don't have to be happy all the time. It's about being open in how we communicate with people. If we want our hearts to be open to them and their hearts to be open to us. Well, I'm going to draw this to a close, but I'm going to put the thought out there that if people would like us to carry on talking about this, let us know. Put a comment somewhere, anywhere.
Anywhere you like.
You could put it on Facebook, or you could put it on YouTube, or you could open up a poster somewhere and just comment.
Or get one of those plain skywriting.
Put the question. Say to people, I saw this group of people that are a bit out there, but they were talking about healing our hearts. What does that mean to you?
Yeah. And maybe we can bring those discussions that we've had with other people to this forum.
Yeah. I think it would be good to start to talk about it. We're going to be having another one of these in 2 weeks' time, and in 2 weeks' time, apparently, there will be a little meditation exercise.
Oh, lovely.
I've got no idea what it's all about, but don't worry about that. It'll sort itself out when the time comes. So I'd like to thank my fellow detainees. Ola, thank you for doing the
Thank you, Orla.
In no particular order except alphabetical. Thank you, Anita, Elaine, Juliet, Haresh and Juliet, Pia, Sharon, and me.
Thank you, Helen.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Please don't leave. We're just getting rid of everybody else, okay? Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us.